Hey everyone, welcome to another video. So in this video, we'll try and understand the new GST reforms proposed by the central government. Well, on the 79th Independence Day, our Prime Minister Modi called for new GST reforms so as to help the common people, the middle class society of the country, and also to give a lot of boost and impetus to MSMEs, small and medium enterprises in the country. So therefore, the central government gave a host of proposals to the GST Council group of ministers known as GOM, who would have already met or will meet today, tomorrow, to discuss the final recommendations, the final proposals, and they will forward the same to the GST Council, who will meet probably by the end of September, early part of October, to release the final recommendations in GST and bring about the GST reforms in the form of a Diwali bonanza. So a major part covering these proposals is rate rationalization, simplification of rates, because earlier you had 3%, you had 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, and so on. Even on products of similar nature, you have different GST rates. For example, for pre-packaged salted popcorn, you have a 12% GST. For caramelized popcorn, you have an 18% GST. But what if there is packaged salted and caramelized popcorn? Well, the rate is not defined. So for different products, you have multiple GST rates of similar nature. If you look at bread, for example, plain bread is at 5%, flaky multi-layered bread is at 12%. So to avoid this confusion, to avoid this complexity, rate rationalization is a major reform that is included in the set of proposals by the central government. So therefore, the objective is to have a simplified two-rate structure as a part of the new GST reforms, only a 5% flat and an 18% flat. The 28% GST is going to be completely abolished and abandoned. There is going to be a 40% slab, 40% tax rate on specific items known as sin and luxury goods, which we will talk about in the later part of the video. So coming to the first rate in the simplified structure, which is 5%. Now, the 5% rate will apply mostly to all the household items, to all the daily needs, daily essentials. It will also make insurance products cheaper because health and life insurance is going to be at 5% from a 12 and 18% and all that. Medicines and medical equipments will also face a boost. The medical industry will face a boost because for medicines and medical equipments, the GST rates are going to be slashed to 5%. Coming to the second 18%, so 5%, 18%, 90% of the items are going to be slashed to 5% and 18%. If you talk about 18%, all your consumer durable goods, white goods, TVs, refrigerators from a 28% will now be slashed to an 18%. If you come to small cars, if it's a petrol vehicle with the engine capacity of not more than 1200 cc or a diesel vehicle with the engine capacity not more than 1500 cc, from a 28%, this will now be slashed to a 18%, which is a big boost to the motor car industry of the country. Even for hybrid cars, the same thing will be followed, wherein it was a 28% and now it will be a 18% GST. Coming to the higher rate of 40%, this, as I said before, is only going to be applicable on specific items known as sin or under the category of sin and luxury goods. You have few products under the category of tobacco and tobacco products. They not only attract excise duty, but on top of that you have GST, and they are treated to be sin goods. Online gaming is an industry which the government has recently tapped. They had put a 28% GST and a retrospective effect and all that. It is now suggested or now expected that this will go up to a 40%. Therefore, online gaming is one sector which could face deep trouble. If you look at the luxury vehicle segment, earlier the GST rate was at 28%, and on top of that you had a GST compensation cess of 20%. So overall it was a 48% GST on top of the value. Now the idea is to slash the entire GST rate to 40%. Now with respect to the compensation cess of 20%, it is unclear as to whether from October onwards this compensation cess will apply or not, because as of now, up to March 2026, this concept of compensation cess will apply on luxury items and luxury vehicles and all that. So whether this 20% will be removed now itself or from March itself is unclear. But whatever said and done, in the future, the entire GST rate instead of 48% is going to be reduced to a 40% for luxury items. for luxury vehicles. Apart from rate rationalization, the central government has also proposed reforms in the areas of returns, return filing, refunds of GST and GST registrations, whereby technology will be used to a large scale with the advent of AI and all that. And therefore, in addition to rate rationalization, return filing, the refund procedures and registration procedures will now be simplified and structured. Now, coming to the main objective, it is quite clear that the objective of the government is to definitely reduce disputes in terms of classification, litigation, ambiguity, to make the GST structure, especially rates, more stable, more simple, more transparent. But the major objective is to increase consumption. Now, with the increase in the US tariff rates for Indian items, which is around 50%, the impetus is to follow Atmanirbhar Bharat, wherein domestic consumption should be increased. And to increase domestic consumption, there's a need for the government to reduce GST rates so the consumption will go up. Yes, with this rate rationalization, there'll be a dip in the revenue for the government to the extent of almost 50,000 crores of revenue loss. But eventually, over time, this revenue loss will be offsetted by the increase in consumption. Therefore, revenue will ultimately be high for the government. Well, what are the sectors impacted because of this GST reform which will come into picture? Like I discussed before, the insurance market is going to see a big boost because insurance products are going to be cheaper. Insurance premiums will see a 5% instead of 18 or 12%. Your FMCG and consumer durables industry will face a good impetus and boost because now it's going to be at 5%. FMCG is your daily essentials and household items. Motor cars, especially small car manufacturers, will get a good boost because now instead of a 28%, which is a high rate, it is now slashed to 18%. And finally, it is your healthcare, medical medicines, medical equipments, which will now see a GST rate of 5%. Overall, this is a great move by the government wherein GST reforms will come into the picture, more or less offsetting the impact that has had because of US tariffs. Well, I hope I was able to make things clear through this particular video. If you like the video, you could show support to us by hitting the like button. If you want more videos like these on a regular basis through way of notifications, you could also think of hitting on the subscribe button. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and thank you.